remember if there was a restaurant that was run by Sam. Um,
What's that?
Sam the beer man.
I don't know any Sam.
Sam the beer man. Who's
Oh.
Sam the beer man?
What's his name again? Sam.
Don't know what you're talking about.
It was a beer.
Okay.
When did you know this guy, Sam?
What?
Who's the Sam the beer man?
Who was that?
No, there's a beer called something Sam.
Oh, Sam Adams.
Sam Adams.
Okay.
And that's from.
Did you know him? Did you date
no,
him?
I didn't know the original Sam Adams.
Oh, how about his brother John? Or John Quincy? You probably,
John Quincy.
yeah.
Him I know.
Him, you know. Nice boy.
Nice boy, nice boy.
Followed in his
Ran
father's
for
footsteps.
president, didn't he?
Yeah. Followed in his father's footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'd like you to tell him before you start on this, which is later? I'd like you to tell him about Grandma taking you to school.
Oh, all right. Only if you promise me
Why?
that when you speak to me, you speak louder than you do.
Okay. It's a deal.
All right, that's good exercise for your lungs, you know, all that. Okay, well, when I was a little girl, how old was I? I guess I was 5 or 4, or 5. And Grandma announced that she was taking me to school to register me for kindergarten. And they all laughed at her, they all being my uncle, Uncle Nat, and Grandma was the one who had full confidence. My mother was, well, she was, but Grandma was sure that she could get this done because she figured out that if I got out of school earlier, a year earlier, I'd be able to go to work because that would be the age for going to work, 14. I'd be there a year earlier, and I would be able to help, boost the family earnings, okay? So, on the way to school, she said to me, Shanimakala, I'm going to tell them that you're, what was it, 6 years old? Yeah. I would tell them that you're 6 years old because then you can go right into first grade. So,
And how old were you?
5.
Oh.
So I said, but that's not so. I said, I know I had 5 birthdays. Or I know I had 6.
Right.
And I was going, she was taking me to the February term, wasn't it? I don't remember. It's a long time ago, you know? And so I said no, and I said, you know, first of all, I had several ages, because on the subway, I used to go under the turnstile because I was short anyway, and I was 4 years old for that. And I complied with that because that I could see, you know, if I get onto the buses or trolleys, again, I went under the turnstile and so on, so I was 4 years old. And what was next? And my birthdays, I knew I was 5 years, had 5 birthdays. So I can't be 6 years old. So she said, you know what? If I say something and you say that it's not so, they're going to take me and put me in jail. And in jail, they give you nothing to eat except bread and water. Do you want that to happen to your grandma? I wasn't as sensible as you. I was stricken. I was stricken with terror. That I would put my grandma in such perfidy. Perfidy is that what it is? Anyway, in such danger. And I wouldn't do that. So I said, I'll go along with whatever you say. And when she got there, they said, they didn't even ask for a birth certificate, which she didn't bring with her. Anyway, and they asked, how old is she? And Grandma said, Bubala, spell your name. My father had taught me to spell my name before he died. And so I spelled my name, my first name, my middle name, my last name. That's a big spelling. And they were so impressed that they said, and they registered me right away for first grade. So I skipped all the fun and joy of having been in kindergarten. And that may be why my thinking might be befuddled. And there I was in first grade. And then she used to, I had to come home for lunch, and that was the best time of the day because she used to make me those very nice little thin pancakes, the French pancakes, and she put jelly on them and rolled them up, dusted them with sugar. Oh, they were wonderful.
Getting hungry. Not fair to talk about food.
Yeah, and you know, that was the first thing that I looked for when I got a cookbook for a present when I got married. That was the first thing that I made in cooking myself. And anyway, I went to first grade, and she used to come, she took me there, and she carried my so-called books, you know, supplies, and then she used to pick me up at 3 o'clock. And one day, all the kids came out, and as she said, like little chickens, and she asked, where is Belle? And they said to her, teacher kept her in. She wouldn't let her go. She has to stay in. This was a punishment. So she went right into the classroom, and I saw her, and I said, oh, Bobby! And I ran to her, and she picked me up, and she said to the teacher, why are you keeping my Belle in? And she said, she didn't know the number 13. So my grandmother was ready with her answer. She doesn't need to know number 13. It's an unlucky number. So there you go.
All right. So you have notes from your
Well, before
first
you get
year.
into
You want
that, tell
All right.
tell Jeff how long you kept up the charade of your age.
Oh, yes.
Oh, really? You
I
kept
was
going?
so scared
Oh.
that something would happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. I mean, this is a sensible person. He's supposed to be a sensible, learned person. I got to the age of, when I was graduating from college. And I said to myself, what can they do to me now? I finished my education, you know. So I changed my age at that time to the correct age.
And how did you do that?
Nothing happened to me.
You just
It's just like,
you just put the word out, or how did you?
no, I went to the college.
Oh, you went to the
office.
registrar?
Yes. I wanted
Okay.
it done, you know, the right way, legally, to be on the books as such and such. But that thing, you know, I was still fearful for her. But I realized she was no longer, no, she was there. But they couldn't do anything anymore. I had my education, right? Okay. So that was it. But I really was overcome still under her influence that way. And she was very religious, and she brought me up to be that way. I wouldn't ride on Saturday. I wouldn't write on Saturday. And when I finally took a pencil in my hand to write, nothing happened. the skies didn't open, thunderbolts didn't come down and strike me.
When did you do that?
When I was grown, you know.
Did you? What? How old were you when you picked up a pencil on Sabbath?
Oh, I was already a graduate. I was sort of liberated.
I see.
But I really, it was a very definite feeling. I was, you know, I could really feel it. And it's like when Arnie, my friend Arnie, who taught at my school, his mother, his whole family was very, very religious, and he broke away from the religion, mainly because he was a Dodgers fan, and he liked to listen to the radio on Saturday for when they were playing, and they have one thing lit, you know, in the house for comfort. I mean, I don't know, for keeping. They had one light on the stove for keeping the food hot.
Right.
Okay, so he said, if you have that, why can't I listen to the game just on Saturday? You know, on Saturday. So he left his mother's house for that reason. So he, you know, so he could be free. And he said when he went out and drove the first time on Saturday, he expected that something was going to happen. His tires would explode or something. And sure enough, he had a seltzer bottle, and that exploded. So he said that was it. It was really funny. I get so completely immersed, completely controlled by that.
How does how does Hoodle fit in as far as? Was she around at that time, or was
Ulu
that?
was the grandmother.
Oh, Hoodle was the grandmother. I didn't
Yeah,
realize
yes.
make the connection.
Yes.
I thought she was around when you were growing up.
No, she married my grandfather.
Okay.
She married Jacob.
So Hoodle was also the one who was really very protective and made sure that you couldn't
Oh yeah, she
skate.
didn't let me have skates. She didn't let me do anything at all.
Mhm.
Girls don't whistle and girls don't climb trees.
Okay.
That's it.
And she had some ideas about. Were you allowed to date? Were you allowed to go out?
Well, that
Yeah, but that was at an appropriate age.
Okay.
Although,
What was an appropriate age?
well, I guess I chose an inappropriate age to. I made friends with a. I was very interested in music. I liked music very much, and she used to go away every summer, and take me with her, of course. And my poor mother had to stay and work. You know, she didn't really have a vacation, much of a vacation, and. She used to go to Sharon Springs for, I think, a month. And also, when that was done, at Sharon Springs, she drank the waters. And at Saratoga Springs, she drank the waters. And at Sharon Springs, she took the mineral baths. Okay? And so I was the one who could read and write. At that time, I think I was about 5, 6 years old. And there were a whole group of women like herself who were not ignorant women, but ignorant of English. And they wanted to keep in touch with their families and so on. So I could have earned a lot of money, but I didn't take any money. This was a mitzvah, like, you know. And I used to write letters for them and read the letters that they got in turn from their families. And I read them to them and so on, and that was, you know, something nice. And my grandmother took such good care of me. She insisted I have to have an egg every day, willy-nilly. And she set an example, because she used to put a little hole in the egg, you know, on both sides, and she used to suck it through the hole. She ate a raw egg. every day.
Oh,
And
not cooked.
that's what you wanted me to do. And I refused. That repulsed me so, it was awful. And that's how I think I hate eggs to this day. And I remember when I fed Harriet as a baby, I used to have to feed her eggs. And I'd say, eat this delicious stuff, you know. So she's associated with very pleasant things. Anyway, she never did because she didn't like them either. At any rate,
So when did you start dating? You were up in Saratoga Springs or Sharon
yeah,
Springs?
that's right. And in Saratoga Springs, they had a beautiful park where they had concerts, and they had a swimming pool, a municipal swimming pool, where they had horses in them, but made of the big barrels, and a horse's head, and a little leather tail at the back. And that was fun because you could sort of flop around in the water with those. And then they had a sliding pond that went swoop into the pool. It was a lot of fun. It was really nice. And then they had this orchestra at the big hotel. That was a lovely Sharon Springs. It's still there, you know, the Saratoga. What is it?
Which you were saying Saratoga.
Saratoga, yeah. The Saratoga Hotel. Beautiful place. And they had an orchestra. And the fellow in the orchestra was, well, he was very nice. He played the drums. He was the drummer. And we got to see each other and know each other and all that. And so he gave me a ring. It wasn't an expensive ring. Maybe it was from 5 and 10 cent store or whatever. But he gave me a ring. And that, at the end of that summer, I came home and I had this ring. And the family was sitting around the table Sunday morning, and they said, "Where did you get that ring?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not engaged, but that's my friend who got me gave me the ring." And my mother took his, I think I had his card or something. Anyway, she had his name, and either she looked it up or she got his number. She called him and she said, "You come here immediately." And I think he was way up in the Bronx someplace. And he came, and she said, "Take that ring and don't come here again." And that was it.
How old were you?
How old was I?
Yeah.
I guess I must have been 16. And he used to play with the National Youth Symphony, and they played at Carnegie Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to go to his concerts. You know, after school, he got me in free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he arranged with the doorman to let me come in, and so I'd hear the end of the concert, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did get to hear music, and I enjoyed that.
Mhm.
And I thought
How old were you at the
I
time?
thought 16.
16.
I
Oh,
thought
okay.
I really, you know, I was in my first year of college,
Mhm.
and I thought he was really so brilliant because he had a very good musical ear, and we walked in Brooklyn, or am I confusing it with somebody else? Anyway, he could, a bus would make a noise, you know, or some kind of thing, and he said, "That's B flat," or whatever. Not that I could verify it or something like that, but believed him. So, but he was really a very good musician.
So what was the objection? Did your
But I was too young
Too
to
young?
even contemplate anything like that.
Uh-huh.
And with a trumpetnik like that. I mean, what does he do for a living? He plays the drums,
Yeah.
and that's what you call a trumpetnik, right?
I don't know.
Well,
Somebody who can't
okay.
earn a living, you know.
Oh, okay.
It didn't pay?
Huh?
The drumming didn't pay?
Well,
Well,
he
it's
didn't get paid
musician.
for that. He was a kid himself.
Yeah.
So,
So that was the last you saw of him? That was it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was scared stiff.
Wow.
He was scared silly.
So how did you meet Willie?
How did I meet Will?
Yeah.
I was going, well, there was I had a lot of friends, and most of them were boys, young boys. They used to hang around the soup. There was a whole, they called themselves a fraternity. They were a group of boys who met regularly in some basements in, I think, on 47th Street or so. And they used to, just hang around, have fun. And in fact, they had a fund where they contributed money to it, and they rented a place in Staten Island on the beachfront, I think, someplace on the beachfront. I think it was Staten Island. Anyway, and I remember Mom and Celia used to go. The boys' mothers used to go there during the week, and they'd have a little vacation and so on. So that worked out very nicely. And then they'd invite girls, so we'd have girls and all that. And how did I meet Will? Well, in that bunch of people, I got to know all the boys there. There was a Shmuley,
Right.
yeah, and he was my special friend. I mean, we considered ourselves special friends. And another person in that group was Willie. And then there was one that was, he was an optometrist, and he moved to Connecticut. He lived in Connecticut. And, and Henry Goldstein. And if you ever want a picture of a typical, of what the world thinks a typical Jew looks like, that was Goldstein. And,
Was Maxie Gordon part of that group?
Maxie Gordon. No, Maxie Gordon was a friend that went to engineering school with Will.
Oh.
He was his best friend
How about
at engineering
how
school.
about the one who could pat his stomach and belch?
Who?
The one who could pat his stomach and belch.
Oh.
The one I liked the best because that was so special.
I think that was it Dave?
No, it was something with an M.
M. Marty?
Maybe Matthew?
I don't know, but he had a very unique thing. All you had to do was pat him or touch him on the stomach, and he made a really reasonably good belch. And that was his specialty.
Good skill.
Everybody's got a specialty.
Right.
Well, that was
And they used to go on. Nobody had any money really, So we used to go on hikes. We used to have picnics, and a picnic involved, or a hike involved a picnic, and because the girls used to bring the food. And I remember Shmuley introduced me to Will, and we were going on the picnic, and everybody was going, and Will invited me to be his guest at the picnic. And I remember I asked him, "What do you like?" So he said, pastrami. I didn't realize that there's a difference between hot pastrami and cold pastrami. So I bought pastrami. It was nice and hot and tasty. The next morning, it was like pieces of, I don't know what, paper. But I made the sandwiches anyway, what I had. And he swallowed them, it was all right. And we had a very nice time. And he knew how to dance, and I liked to dance, and all that. And so And as I said, they had a room, you know, in the basement, on 47th Street or something, a private house like this. And I remember we used to go down to that room, and you know, we'd read aloud, we'd act out parts of, you know, I mean, we were really somewhat innocent people. I mean, you know, we had no plans for any terrible things. But my mother and Louis had the idea that something must be going on. So they undertook to go there one night, not telling me or anything, but they bent all the way down to look in the windows, and we were I don't know what we were doing. We were reading aloud or something like that, and all of a sudden we look up and there are these eyes peering in at us. So we invited them to come in, and they came in and they saw what we were doing. It seemed to be innocent so far. So, you know, they were very suspicious though. Very suspicious. So that was that. So then my mother and father didn't object to my going and having fun there, or spending time there.
Okay.
So I was a very innocent young lady.
Okay.
And Shirley, of course, was unhappy, but I still have a letter that he wrote to me. And I visited him once in his, he lived in Williamsburg. It was a long trek. I knew from that, and also because my grandmother, when she married somebody, very nice guy, Alter, I think his name was.
Alter Asherovsky.
That's right. She married him, and
Yeah, I remember.
and they lived right next door to an Italian family, Mrs. Cusi, and they got along so well together. And they, you know, they cooked their specialties and they traded them and so on. It was really very nice. And I got to know Mrs. Cusi because I came every Friday afternoon after school, and my grandmother loaded me up with all kinds of goodies. And you know, when I got on the subway, it smelled so good. And then I brought it all home.
Okay, now you can tell about how you got married and about your first
Oh,
year.
yeah, Will and I he wanted to be, well, we both, the only time that was good for us to get married was Christmas time, because I had a vacation, and he had some free time, which otherwise he would have used for studying, which he did use for studying too, and because he was going to be graduating
From
when he
Kuwait.
did graduate
From
in
Kuwait.
June, I think.
Uh-huh.
He had to go to school through June.
Right.
Yeah, and so we decided that we ought to get married. And I remember the talk was amongst my mother's friends was that you better watch out and make sure she gets married before he graduates, because very often there's a this is more often true, I think, when the parents of the bride pay, you know, towards the young man's education, like when a guy wants to be a doctor and they pay to help out, and then he becomes a doctor and he forsakes her, which is what happened to my friend Toby.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And her parents practically put this young man through medical school in Florida or something, and then she had a baby, and then he divorced her.
Mm.
She had this little baby, and that's it. So my mother's friends were warning her against something like that happening. So they encouraged us to get married. So we did.
Okay. And you took notes.
Huh?
You took notes.
Oh, well, that's her budget.
Oh, is it? This
Yeah,
is,
when
oh.
when we actually got married,
Uh-huh.
and neither of us had any money really, I earned $22.50 a week,
Uh-huh.
and he was, though he hadn't gotten his job yet, he was still finishing school. I remember, because I used to go during my lunchtime. I used to run over to Cooper Union, which is within walking distance of where I worked,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a big bulletin board there that anybody could use, and I used to tack up notes for him, and yeah, that was. Or did I? I think I did that before we were married, and I used to walk over from where I worked and put up notes what time I would meet him on the train station or something, you know. We'd ride home together and stuff like that. And then after we got married and we had this apartment at 18 West 16th Street, which was a basement apartment, and the family was appalled that we were living in a basement. But it was very nice. It was
Like
one
your-
great big room,
Yeah.
and it had a bed, it had a desk, it had a stove, a little teeny stove and bathroom attached. You know,
Oh,
like
like
kitchen sink on one side, and the bathroom material stuff on the other side.
But was it in the same room? The bathtub was in the kitchen, or were they enclosed?
I don't think we had the luxury of a bathtub,
Uh-huh. Was a shower?
something like that, I think.
That's kind of what I had.
Yeah,
Like a basement studio apartment.
Yeah,
That's it,
and then there was I think 2 steps down, and there was a door to come
Right.
in.
Yes, exactly. Brownstone.
Yeah, and I remember, a dresser on the other side of the room,
Mm-hmm.
so that when I got out of bed, I used to have to dash over to get some clothes, you know, and the floor was cold. There was no carpet.
Was this
on the
in,
floor.
in Manhattan?
Manhattan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gave me the address.
Well, she said 18 West 16th, but she didn't say.
Right
it could
across
be
from
also.
Margaret Sanger.
Oh, yeah?
It was very handy. So,
Uh-huh.
anyway,
They were 17, I think. West 16th.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
For all I know, they're still there.
probably.
they moved from
I don't know. I said, for all I know, they're still there.
West 16th Street.
Yeah.
No, you know who's there? There's
there?
the Jewish,
Family service.
the one that has the family stuff and all that.
Jewish family service?
No,
No? I don't know.
the stuff for that your friend, what's her name? That our cousin Phyllis is very interested in. Phyllis Gardner.
I don't know if Phyllis Gardner.
Isn't she the one who's in genealogy?
Oh, Phyllis Kramer.
Yeah. Phyllis Kramer, right?
No, Kramer is a married name.
Yeah, Kramer with a K.
Yeah, Kramer. Something like that. I didn't know
She sort of apologized. She said, I married a German.
Oh.
What we're going to do about
And we
that?
finally
I mean,
met.
that's her business.
Yeah, no,
But,
she's active in Jewish genealogy. I often see her name there. But yeah, they were still there in 1951 because I
Well,
went
there's-
there.
there
when
is
I-
the
when
center-
I got married.
The Center of Jewish History
Yeah,
is
That's
right
right.
Oh.
at 15 West 16th. And
Oh.
then
That's
next
right.
door
Yeah.
is a building there, and there's a plaque on the building. It doesn't say, you know, that it probably will, let me see if I can get a close-up of it. It's not going.
In any case,
And then we'll look across the street, and there's a parking garage.
Well,
That's
and
18 West 16th. It looks like they, well, it's construction.
18 West 16 was a huge apartment building.
I don't know if you can see it. But I think they've torn down 16 West 16th, and there's now this apartment house.
Yeah.
Was that there at the time, or
No.
No, it looks like that's gone, and then next door, the brownstones start.
yeah,
And then further down the block
yeah,
there's
yeah, that
a
was
huge
the kind of brown
church.
Right, that's the
I
next
think a
door.
Russian Orthodox church. I don't know which kind.
Yeah.
Or some church.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, it was there because I used it in 1951
Yeah,
when I got married. That was where I
Uh-huh.
went for birth control
Uh-huh.
services.
right.
So,
And we, when we got married, it was during the Depression, and nobody had any money really. And
it was what, December 25th, 1938?
38.
Yeah, 1938.
And yeah, he was graduated in this was December 3rd, 25th, 1938. He was graduated in June 39. Okay. I remember we had a cake, and they all came down to celebrate the occasion at our apartment with said "Hooray for Willie the Engineer" and icing on the cake. And we all came down and enjoyed it. But we took this apartment, and we got married, so we had to we had a very nice wedding, and because it was everything was contributed really. The place that my mother used to work for and still works for, contributed the material. They gave me yards and yards of yellow material, and I took it to a local dressmaker with whom I had become friendly. She had made me a very pretty blouse. Do you remember that lame blouse that I had?
No, I don't remember. I remember the wedding gown.
What?
I remember the wedding, the lovely yellow gown.
So I brought her that material, the lame material, to make a blouse, to sort of check her out whether she'd be okay. And she was like an architect as far as, she didn't need a pattern. She was wonderful. Dora, I think you met her, didn't you?
I don't know. That name is vaguely
And,
familiar,
yeah,
but I don't
she
remember.
was a Greek woman, yeah.
Uh-huh. No, I don't really
And she
remember.
said her secret dream was to become an architect.
Uh-huh.
And that's why she didn't bother with patterns and all that kind of stuff. Because she could make her own patterns. And so she made that very lovely blouse, and then I gave her all that material to make my wedding dress. So she made the wedding dress, and it was not very expensive because I had the material was a gift. And I remember all the different people gave me their labor or their know-how as their wedding gift. I remember Sophie, Ann Tilley's sister.
Yeah.
She was very artistic and had a very nice design instinct. I mean, I talked so much already.
Now he's got a message.
No, Joshua is trying to reach me.
Oh, Josh?
Okay.
No, so she came and made a headpiece, because with Will in a wedding suit, and they had to wear top hats. Did you wear a top hat at your wedding?
No. No.
Yeah, well, Will had to wear this top hat, the stovepipe thing, which he needed like a laughing cup because he was so tall anyway compared to me, and I used to wear real high heels and to compensate, but even so. And so I was married by a cousin who married a rabbi from Toronto, I think, someplace in Canada.
Is that where he was from? Rosie's husband married you?
No, it was Deborah's husband.
I mean Deborah, that's right,
Yeah.
Deborah's husband, the pinching rabbi.
Yeah, the one who used to like go around pinching everybody
That was
in a friendly way,
Right,
very friendly.
yes.
And
He wasn't
So,
Catholic though.
he
Cousin Rosie and I named
he was the assistant rabbi
Uh-huh.
at the West Side Institutional Synagogue on West 72nd Street in Manhattan. And so he contributed his services. There was no charge. Okay? And then,
He'll do in a pinch.
huh?
He'll do in a pinch.
Yeah. and then who else did things for me? She made me the headpiece, and other
And-
people did other things that I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Well, I think
just
Grandma
one.
cooked and
I had
somebody else.
never been to a beauty parlor before my wedding. I could never afford one really, and everybody said, "Your wedding, you have to go to a beauty parlor." So I went to the beauty parlor, and I said, "I'm going to be married tomorrow. What do I need to do?" So they "You never were in a beauty parlor? Oh my God, you're going to be married tomorrow." So I thought they'd do a whole makeover or whatever. And I said, "I don't wear makeup, you know." So that was that. I think they did my nails or something, you know, but it was either colorless or something like that.
And do you have photos from your wedding?
You don't want to see them. Because my cousin Evelyn had a friend, she said, who was a very gifted photographer, an art photographer. And he didn't use flashlight, he had natural light. So, do you see my hand?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see anything? Close your eyes, I should say.
Oh.
Do you see anything?
They were dark.
That's it. They were, I have them all the way up in the closet someplace.
Yeah.
They are ridiculous. You can't see anything.
My Aunt Rose made Evelyn, my cousin Evelyn, we were within an age of
Yeah, and Rose and my mother made dresses for me.
matching dresses for me and
And
her.
they were so cute. They were both flower girls.
It was a blue sort of taffeta that changed color, so it sort of ranged from blue to sort of a purpley color.
Mhm.
As you moved, you could just
Iridescent, they called
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Iridescent
It's
taffeta.
very pretty.
And they were gorgeous. Dresses were so pretty, and the girls were adorable. And my mother-in-law's very best friend's son was in the flower. He was a florist, and he was someplace in Manhattan. So he provided the baskets with the rose petals,
Yes.
and he provided
which we
he-
climbed up on a balcony and dropped on people's heads. And after the ceremony, we had some left.
They were mischievous
Very
kids.
nice.
You didn't know that about your mother.
No. This is news to me.
So, and and they didn't charge us, or there was a minimum charge, and all I wanted to carry for flowers for myself. We needed flowers for the. Did I
Boutonnieres.
have bridesmaids? I think.
You had a matron of honor, I think.
Yeah, I had a matron of honor that was Harriet,
Yeah.
and Lou was
That's
the
cousin.
best. Lou was the best man.
Oh, that's your watch talking.
That was Lydia. So, so I needed the boutonnieres for some people, you know, and Will, of course, and his best man and so on. Anyway, and they also gave me a little what I asked for, a little nosegay. You know, I did a lot of reading, and my own mind was set with different old-fashioned things like Pollyanna bringing pickled pig's feet. I never knew what they were, but she used to bring them to people who were ill and so on, spreading cheer. So I had a nosegay of cornflowers, which were deep blue, and my yellow daisies. Okay, and that was my stuff. And then, and that was a gift, you know. So I'm just figuring out what everybody gave. And then I made a list for myself of all the wedding presents that we got. And the top present was my Uncle Ben's. He was rich, and he gave us $50. And the others ranged from $1 to 25. I have a list here somewhere.
She's got the total in that book.
Isn't it in the book here?
The total is in the
Oh,
book.
the total is in the book. Okay.
And then you want to know the total of my wedding gifts? I can't. Oh,
It's on the front page.
Okay.
I'm learning to use my left hand because my right one doesn't seem to work right. Is it here? In
Here, I can look. Let me see. I'll find it for you. All right. Oh, I think the very first page, maybe?
No?
It says Sunday, December 25th, 1938, house furnishings, $5.22.
No, that's, you're on the wrong page. The
Okay.
page before that.
Before that, there's nothing.
I'm sure there is.
No. No, it's just the Sterling
Carol, where
notebook.
did you see that total?
Maybe we'll go.
I did her at Long Shops, the fancy
Yeah,
restaurant.
we went into their long shop.
Right.
Write it down.
Okay. Yeah, this it's probably a few pages in.
Every time I try to move, it gives a shadow.
And we hadn't eaten all day. And Will was so excited that he threw it all up. And we said,
Oh, boy.
what a waste that was.
Here,
Yeah, it probably took you a couple of days to.
here it was. What she opened an account for Mr. and Mrs. William Joseph
Right.
at Union Square Savings Bank, $845. That was the wedding gifts.
Mm-hmm.
But she started on the day after, and she put in every penny
Yeah.
that was spent. This was a whole year,
Uh-huh.
so you.
Jeez.
It was really terrible. Will didn't feel well one day, and I took his temperature with our thermometer. I had to run out and buy a thermometer, and
Oh.
and he put his thermometer in his mouth, and I guess he didn't realize it, but he broke it.
You bit it.
Oh,
Bit down on
snapped.
it.
Oh, he snapped it. Yeah.
So, but
Well, you got a 1 pound. Is that a pound? Yeah, I think so. That would be. It says 1 pound can of Alaska Pink Beauty salmon. It says 2 for 25 cents. So it's 12 cents.
right. Well, how about a quart of milk?
11 cents for the quart of milk. 4 pears for 10 cents.
Yeah.
A half a pound of tomatoes for 8 cents.
Yeah.
Head of lettuce, small and firm. 8 cents. Car fare was 20 cents. Oh, you bought the New York Post? 3 cents. The Post.
Yeah. So wherever you
I
turn
don't
in this,
think you
this
know.
date,
You don't know the department store Hearns, do you?
Well, that's the one that's listed here.
yeah, but that's
But
no
I mean,
longer
did you?
existent.
They were right on 14th Street
Okay.
and 6th Avenue.
So Hearns, and it had another thing. You I guess you went to. It says meat, and what does it say?
Finkelstein between 2nd and 1st Avenue and 10th
We used to
Street.
walk
Oh,
over there
right.
on Sundays.
5
loin lamb chops. Mm.
50 cents per
Good.
pound.
Good choice. Yeah, you were feeling flush that day. Well, you were celebrating the New Year, maybe. It says Monday, January 2nd.
I mean, things were within reason, I think.
I know. And then some pot roast, meat for pot roast, 75 cents worth.
And by that time, no, let's see. Yeah, he Will had a job with the New York City Department of,
Yeah.
what was it? I forget.
The MTA. Now it's called the MTA.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Transportation.
Yeah,
You went to see Henry the. What? Said Henry the Fourth. Henry.
Where?
The,
Where?
looks like Henry the Fourth.
Yes, Henry the Fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 tickets for
$1.10. This was in 1939.
how much are the tickets?
$1.10.
$1.10.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting
Yeah.
book because she's got all of her information for that whole year.
Yeah. Super.
Yeah.
And with the money that that big sum of money, Will went out and bought himself a roller cord because we didn't have enough for roller flex.
Oh, right.
So he got a roller cord. And the first day that we went out walking and he was busy using the roller cord, it seemed that there was a man climbing up one of the pillars of the elevated trains. At that time we had L trains, and I think it was the 3rd Avenue L or something, 2nd Avenue, I don't know. And this guy was climbing up on the outside of the pillars, and he was really, his life was in danger, and he climbed all the way so that he wouldn't have to pay a
Fair.
fare. The fare I think was 5 cents. I don't know. And that was, I mean, that was the level of poverty then.
So you got some pictures of him?
Yeah, he got pictures, and by the time the newspaper people came there, they saw he had pictures, so they took his. They asked him if they could use his film, and he said yes, and they gave him credit for it. His name was in the paper, and along with theirs, and they showed the picture of the guy climbing over, and they said photographs by W. Joseph, amateur photographer.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was nice. I think I paid him $15 for him.
Well, didn't you take a lot of pictures, and didn't you have a? How did you
Well,
get
that
pictures in Willoughby Peerless, right?
Yeah, because I used to take pictures of the kids in the apartment house where we lived. That was when we got to Brooklyn. And we had our own. We had a closet. No, we used to do it in the bathroom actually, in that apartment. When we moved here, one of the attractions of being here was that we could take this closet, and this was our dark room, because we developed our own pictures and all that. We enlarged them and developed them. Will built an enlarger, and so we used that. And I took pictures of the kids in the, or sometimes Will took the pictures and I held something up to make them look a certain way and all that. And he put up lights and stuff, and it was very nice. And the families in the apartment house, I didn't charge them, and they liked the idea, of course. They got a picture, and then that was very nice. So I had a few. I still have them, I think, all the way up in the closet, and they were so pretty and so nice that Will took them down to was it Willoughby's?
Yeah. It was.
And they made a showing of them, which was very nice. I enjoyed that too. So we had that. That was nice.
And that was after you moved to Brooklyn, were you saying? Or?
Oh yeah, sure.
They had
After we had our children.
Mm-hmm.
they had been. Where did you move first? Here or was it?
What?
Where did you move first? Was it down here or was it in the apartment house?
Well, we lived here until after Harriet was born,
Right.
and we wanted desperately to buy a house of our own. And we went looking, and in Queens, a certain area in Queens, and near where my friend, my hair cutting friend
Oh, Estelle.
lives. Rego Park, so I think that's where she lives, I think. And they were building new private homes. And I think what you needed was $1,000 to buy, to put the money down, and then you'd pay it out, so on. And we looked at a house, and it was so nice. It was a two-family, and they had a special place for a third family to live, and we thought that would be perfect for Mom and you to come in and live there. But I don't know how willing she would have been, but maybe she could sell this house, that. Anyway, we went out to ask for money. All we needed was $1,000. We didn't have $1,000. Of course, Mom didn't have $1,000 unless she sold this house, And so anyway, we went to ask the richest person we knew. That was my Uncle Ben. And he said, "Oh, no, don't give out $1,000." And then we said, "Well, we'll try Lou," because he wasn't doing so badly either. He's a dentist,
Remember
And
the
he had
dentist that couldn't count?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
Lou,
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
he,
Remember him?
cousin Lou. Yeah.
and he had plenty of money, I'm sure of it. And Lou says, "No, I don't give out $1,000. And Bill said, "I'll pay it back," but no way. He couldn't get any money anyplace. So he had to give up. There were no fairy godmothers around. It was very disappointing. Really, really disappointing.
Mm.
It was crowded here. Of course, we used the front room, which we made into a place for Harriet. And in fact, we took the front room and extended it. I mean, I remember Harriet's crib and dressing table. Was right in front of the big window. She had a lovely bassinet that was a gift that my mother got from her former boss. And
That was my bassinet.
yes, that was your bassinet. But then when
Added to the
Harriet
kids,
was born,
right?
you let me use it.
Yeah, of course.
And I remember I decorated it with my material from my wedding gown. I looped it through, and all that, and made a big bow on the front of it or something. And it was a very nice bassinet, and we kept Harriet in that. But she was getting bigger, and we needed a little more room, and so did Mom and Pearl.
So when was this?
This was about 1941 was when Harriet was born.
Your dad was still alive then, wasn't he?
No, he died after the year after.
I can't hear you.
He died the year after you got married.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. That's why we came back here.
that's right. That was why we came back. Right.
But even so, it was,
Yeah. Well, once you had
And,
Harriet,
and
it
Mom
was
had a job with a local, she was a bookkeeper for a local coal company, I think.
right. I think so. Yeah,
Mhm.
near the Avenue I station somewhere.
Right.
Well, didn't she open a store or something like that? Had a store?
That was before,
That was,
wasn't it?
when was that?
When did they open the hardware store?
I can't hear you.
When did they open the hardware store?
Oh, well, that was, I think that was after your father died.
No, because they used to take turns. It was when I was smaller.
Oh, well, then that was, so I don't know when they opened it, but it was there. And I remember, Will's relatives, forget their names. There were two brothers who used to come down to help out.
No,
One was tall, and he became a beautician. Had his
Know
own
these people
beauty
at all?
parlors and stuff.
No, don't know them.
Lady was the one, the shorter one. Very sweet fellows, really so nice. They were cousins, I think, of Will's. Anyway, that was, and then Lou,
I think it was when I was younger than that. I must have been in about 5 or 6 when they opened the store. I think it was after he gave up on the business where he was selling the furniture on time.
yeah.
So
And-
that was when
and,
I was younger.
That was after he went to California.
When I was about 2.
You
Yeah.
went to California?
His sister lived.
Oh.
His sister who was somebody of means, and she was, and she took, the youngest brother went out there, and he lived with her. And, I don't know what we did with the fish. I don't think he traveled there with the fish.
No, I don't think so. I don't remember it. Well, I wasn't here.
So the guppies stayed?
Everything stayed. He wanted you to travel with the guppies, unless he
Well.
took some in a plastic bag or something. I don't know. So, and then Lou stayed there for a little while, and he was in the movies.
Yes, he was in one of, what's her name, Sophie Tucker's films. Something about the East Side. And we got a tape or something, your father
Of the
and I,
movie? Yeah.
trying to find the movie. And he was, his bit part was as a hurdy-gurdy player at the very opening of the film.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, when they were redoing the film from whatever they got it evidently was damaged, and that front part really wasn't there.
Oh.
Well,
So-
somebody saw him and recognized him.
Yes, Jay, cousin Jay,
Yeah.
was a kid, and they had the film as part of the movie, because you'd have she did shorts really. They were, like what, 15, 20 minutes long? They weren't,
Yeah.
they
Well,
weren't
you,
really
you
a whole
should know.
film.
You were the expert on Saturday movies. That was your
Yeah, but they would have these short things.
short features.
Short features as well as two movies,
Mm-hmm.
and
Was it called East Side Story?
it
Maybe?
might have been.
I'm trying to see what
It was
what
about
is
the
it?
Lower East Side of New York,
Story. Let's see.
but it was it was just the opening section where he was an organ grinder setting the scene setting it.
He was a Liebesman?
Yeah, but he wasn't listed in the credits.
Oh.
He was just he was
Right.
he was an
Just a
extra.
bit player,
Well, who was the one then with
But Jay.
Pearl Bailey and
Oh, that was her husband.
St. Louis woman?
Yeah, Eddie Gross was the guy who was producer of that.
Okay.
That was his sister Bessie, and he was very enthusiastic, according to my mother, about going there, and he wanted very much to have us go and live in California, and she didn't want to leave all the family, so they didn't go. So let's have something to eat. What do you
Yeah.
say?
We'll take a break here.
Yeah. You must